Welcome to St. Mark's Port Hope Festival and Exhibit, titled The Arts in Worship. This video shows the exhibition of photographs, textiles, silver, and other sculpture assembled on the weekend of September 22nd to 24th in the year 2000. The camcorder was operated by Stephen Poste, and the voiceover is provided by Cotter, Honorary Assistant Priest, the coordinator of the weekend's activities. We're now entering the door of the church to look at the exhibition. As the door opens, we see a blue vestment set, cope with stole and chasuble, loaned by St. Peter's Church in Coburg. And through the door, as we look at our first view of the church inside, we see the splendid colors of a church decorated in blue and gold. And here are some of the vestments belonging to this parish. In this choir robing room, we see some, various kinds. That's a cope. And there are Eucharistic vestments there too. Many of these have been homemade by people who are good at stitchery, members of the congregations. And across in the other robing room are some vestments from our neighboring churches. Arthur Lawson's vestment on the left, David Harrison's in the distance, made by his Sunday school, and this one a Belgian import in memory of Eileen Doherty. And we go back into the church, we get a sense of the many other things. And up at the top there is what's called a triptych on top of the altar, which is a centerpiece of our exhibition. Now we come back down briefly to look at some of the vestments belonging to St. Mark's Church. The vestment in front of us belongs to Bishop Anne Tottenham, made for her by her students at Bishop Strawn's school. And these are some of our own things being made or already made, hanging there. And just coming into view are two vestments from St. John's Church in Peterborough of quite beautiful design and fabric. That's the Paschal candle. And here we look across again. We're now going to look at the special exhibit of photographs of the work of Sylvia Hahn. She made the triptych I have referred to over our altar, and she did many other woodwork and painting works of art, especially in Toronto. And there's a picture of her in her youth. Up on the top here is a vestment made with a pattern directly imitated from sculpture that she did on the altar of one of the churches. Ahead of us we see various pictures from a work she did in St. Philip's Church, North Toronto, where she did almost all the carving of the crosses, altar rails, altar, and so on. Some photographs supplied by her family of her designs, some details of her designs in that and other churches. These are from St. Mary Magdalene's Church in Toronto, and these are more detailed. We regarded her work as the centerpiece, and we used that poster to the right for our poster for the exhibit. Now we go back up to look up at the altar. These are vestments I had made in my parish life in Parkdale in Toronto. 3 copes copied from Coventry Cathedral in England. And we're going to turn left and look at some Eucharistic vestments made, which I had made in memory of my mother. And then some others that have been made from time to time. The lurid one hanging there is for picnic use. And we see icons made by a member of the church at St. Mary Magdalene's. And back we are to our centerpiece, the triptych above the altar. showing two sets of vestments which belong to bishops. And in the corner, the St. Mark's lion and a memorial sculpture. Come back down. This is where the choir sits in the chancel. And the cinematographer is going to show you some details of that one vestment right there, which was made for Bishop Finlay, our diocesan bishop, by parishes near his cathedral. In the meantime, we look at the back of the church, and we see some hangings on the walls, church flag, some of the vestments we saw closer before, and a matching hanging, this time with the dove and Easter lilies in it. We come back down to a final look at the back of the church, and we're now going to see the vestment made for the Bishop of Toronto. It's the only mannequin we had, and it has this cope which has embroidered and appliqued churches which were representing his local region in Toronto. As you go around the back of it, at the bottom you see the outline of the Toronto skyline, and you could, if you spread it out, you'd even see the CN Tower represented. But as we move around, it's we who are moving, not the mannequin. We see St. James Cathedral on the back. Quite an astonishing work of art. That is called a cope, and the bishop's hat is called a mitre he's wearing on top. So that's been displayed for us very specially. And we're going to fade out and look again at what's above the altar, the very top of the triptych. Here's the figure of Christ in the center, surrounded by the evangelists, Mary and Joseph, and some archangels. And now we move over again because we're going to go towards the chapel. We see some of the vestments we've seen before. Look at the icons on the wall. They're quite wonderful. And we turn the corner, we go through, and we're going to see the Small Lady Chapel right through this door. This is, these are vessels made at various times for the church, for this parish and others, mostly for wine. And in the dimness you can see a few other things. That is a Della Robbia plaque to be installed in this Lady Chapel. And then we turn back again, and we're about to go into the sacristy, but we take one quick look across the chancel to the things we are leaving behind. And we go into this room where the vessels are prepared by the Chancel Guild. And here are some of the hangings used for the vessels, including the round plates, which are not used now. They're pewter plates which were used for the bread at communion. So some of these things are historic. And that is a little cloister moving us through to the parish hall, where we're going to see our poster again. This is the Christ the Teacher by Sylvia Hahn, and that leads us into the main exhibit in the parish hall. A wonderful blue one at the far end, which we'll tell you about later. A sketch of the church on the wall, and we're going to look at these wonderful hangings. They're made mostly by Michelle Collins from the church in Huntsville, whose sister is one of our members and also does this kind of work. That represents the town of Huntsville with the white dove hovering over it. It's done mostly in applique. Chairs were set out because we also had a snack in there in the midst of the exhibit. These are more things by hangings. That's an angel, and there's a matching one by Michelle Collins. And in the middle, Barbara Lesueur's The Gift of Giving in red. We had stands on which we put our exhibits of various kinds, and we're now going to move into one that focuses on liturgy in architecture, these architectural surroundings of worship. We were shown some drawings from St. George's Church in Pickering, and here they are, illustrating how, needing extra space, they are enlarging their parish hall and not will continue to use their Victorian church, but it's not big enough to hold their people. And then we go around the corner, and we're going to see some stained glass windows done by Gerald Tuke in various places. Not very easy to pick up on the video, but quite remarkable stained glass and some pictures of his work. Liturgy and architecture touches St. Gregory's Church in San Francisco, of which we have a lot of material, and we had it on display because they designed their entire church to hold the kind of worship they had. Go around the corner. That robe belongs to a dancer. We're going to talk about her in a moment. But as we go around the corner past the Prayer Book Society's exhibit of the words of the old prayer book, we come to one more exhibit of stained glass, this by Henry Regier, who lives near Warkworth. And this is really the story of his pilgrimage in glass. Now this is our space for liturgical dance in liturgy, a robe belonging to Alexandra Caverly-Lowry, and some pictures from St. Gregory's showing their dance and their dancing saints, which is one of their illustrations in their church. Back to get another view of Michelle's work, and we see Alexandra's robe, which she used in the great sesquicentennial service at the Sky Dome in 1989. Back again across the room, this area concerns the labyrinth, which we'll come back to later, but also prayer. And the lower part is works done by a native artist in Peterborough for All Saints Church, a frontal, a vestment, coverings for the vessels, and we're going to be shown up on top photographs of the work of the St. Mark's Heritage Foundation, which has involved repairing a building which within 20 years or so will be 200 years old. Back to some work by Václav Vasa, a Czech artist, and then the labyrinth display, and various things to do with the labyrinth. And this is going to lead us in a moment to the video of the dance. As we get close to that door, we're going to go through the door.